Gosh, don't I? I always pull a stupid face when I do that. Hello everyone, it's Elliot here, back for another video on YouTube. I'm going to be talking about some films today, for a change. The ones I'm going to be talking about are films that I think are special for this time of year. I'm not talking winter or spring or whenever you're watching this. No, I'm talking about Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is tomorrow, and whether you celebrate it or not, you could watch some films about love. Some of the films I've picked to speak about in this episode, they're not conventional romance stories, which I think is best. Because, I'm just going to go on record, I hate Valentine's Day. I really hate Valentine's Day. It's just an artificial made-up day just to sell chocolate and flowers. Like, what's the point of it? Like, unless... I can't even think of a point. And no, I'm not saying this from a point of being out of a relationship, because I'm in a relationship, have been for almost 3 years now, and we both just agree that we don't see the point of it. So the only point I'm going to make about Valentine's Day is that it's a good time to watch films, especially films about love. So I'm going to talk about some films in this video, and they're all kind of... Some are conventional looks at romance, and some just aren't. So let's get straight into it. The first one I'm going to talk about is maybe one of the first romance films ever made. The film is Sunrise, directed by F.W. Murnau. Yes, it's a silent film. I'm not sure how many silent films I've actually talked about on my channel before. But I'm actually a big fan of silent films, particularly because of the Masters of Cinema Eureka Blu-ray series, because this is really where I got introduced to silent films. It wasn't through Chaplin or Buster Keaton, it was through the early films of Murnau and Fritz Lang, people like that. So Sunrise, it's the tale of two people that are happily married, but then there's this sinister... she's described as a vamp-like seductress who... it's when the couple in this film, they live in the countryside, but they decide to visit the city for a day. And when they're in the city, they get followed around by this woman who follows them back home and tries to seduce the husband. And it's just a great tale of enduring love, and one of the best romance films ever made still, even though this came out in 1927. So Sunrise by F.W. Murnau, well worth checking out. And this is, in fact, this Blu-ray, spine number 1 in the Masters of Cinema collection. So if you want to start Masters of Cinema, here you go. Pick up number 1, Sunrise. Continuing with the Masters of Cinema, I have Harold and Maude. Now, I'm sure lots of you already know about Harold and Maude, because, yes, it's a romance story between a guy who's 20 and a woman who is 80 or 80-ish. It's unconventional love, definitely. These are two people that they happen upon each other and they realise they're just made for each other. It kind of shows that love has no boundaries, I guess. And it's very morbidly funny. A morbidly funny film by the great Hal Ashby. It's just so entertaining. One of my favourite films of all time, actually. And it is available in the Criterion collection as well, over in the US. Harold and Maude, such a great film. We're going to go with a bit more of a... I guess this is a bit more of a serious one. We are jumping over to Criterion now. This one is All That Heaven Allows, the Douglas Sirk film, starring Rock Hudson and Jane Wyman. I mean, I love this film. If you want to watch this film for nothing else, watch it for the overall cinematography and the look of this film. You'll know what I mean as soon as you see it, but it's very saturated. All the colours are very vivid and bright. And if you're not familiar with Douglas Sirk, he made a lot of films around about the time of All That Heaven Allows, around the time of the 50s, which they are described as Hollywood melodramas. It actually describes it as an expressionistic Hollywood melodrama on the back of this case. But yeah, that's basically saying that the emotions are brought up to the max. It's a story about this woman who she falls in love. She's from quite a well-off society, like upper middle class, and she falls in love with her gardener, played by Douglas Sirk. Because you would, wouldn't you, if it was Douglas Sirk? But it's just such a lovely film. And this one ties into the next film I'm going to talk about, because the next one I've got here, this is a film by Rainer Werner Fassbinder, the German director, called Fear Eats the Soul, or it's known as Ali, Fear Eats the Soul. Fassbinder was a great advocate of Douglas Sirk, and they even made films together later in both of their careers. They're both from Germany, but obviously Fassbinder never made the transition over to Hollywood. Fassbinder, if you don't know about Fassbinder, he had a very short career because he died quite early on, tragically. But he was so prolific in the years that he was active. He made so many films, and to be honest, a lot of them are really good, like of a high quality. But yeah, Fear Eats the Soul, a lot like All That Heaven Allows, and maybe a bit like Harold and Maude as well. It shows that there can be seeming boundaries between two people that fall in love, because it's about Ali, who is an immigrant, and it's about Emmy, she's a widowed cleaning lady, and she's in her 60s, whereas this guy's a young guy, and he's an immigrant from Morocco in his 30s. So that's where the conflict is, and it's all about how they're stigmatized. But unlike All That Heaven Allows, this one isn't as visually stunning, I'd say, although the cinematography itself is great and the directing is incredible. And it's definitely not funny like Harold and Maude, but such a powerful film about love. And if you've never watched a Fassbinder film, I'd say this is probably the place to start, because I'd probably say this is his most famous film as well. So definitely check out Ali, Fear Eats the Soul. Also available on Criterion in America. Next up, right, I'm going back in time again now. This is to 1934, and we're back in Hollywood. This is It Happened One Night. This is an early rom-com from Frank Capra. It goes in sort of the screwball comedy movement genre, starring Claudette Colbert and Clark Gable. And it's so funny because they meet early on in the film and they don't really get along, but like most rom-coms, they're thrust together and they don't like each other. And then obviously by the end of the film, they do like each other. And that's not spoiling the film, because as soon as you start watching this, you know that this is how the film is going to end. And they're on the run, of course, because people are always on the run in these kind of films. So yeah, It Happened One Night. This is one of my favourite romantic films. And I share that with my girlfriend as well. This is one of her favourite romantic films ever since I showed it her. So It Happened One Night on the Criterion Collection. I've got two more to show you. So I'll just run through these quickly because I know you lovebirds want to get off. Going to talk about La Belle à la Bête. This is Beauty and the Beast. This is the Jean Cocteau French film from the 40s. This is such a stylized film. If you don't know about Cocteau, he was like, I guess you describe him as like a magician of cinema. All of the practical effects that he uses in this film, honestly, like you watch it and you don't know how he does a lot of them. It's the same in all of his films as well. In his film Orpheus, there's a lot of stuff in that is just, it's mind-blowing effects. But it's the tale of Beauty and the Beast. Everyone probably knows that from the Disney film. But this is just such a wonderful film. And this film particularly is a favourite of lots of filmmakers. Like, I know that Guillermo del Toro loves this film. And again, it's in the Criterion collection, so if you're in the US, you can pick up the Criterion disc. But Beauty and the Beast, definitely worth a watch for Valentine's Day. And last but not least, I'm going to talk about another unconventional romantic film. This one is Punchdrunk Love by the great Paul Thomas Anderson. Paul Thomas Anderson, or PTA, as us nerds call him. PTA is probably one of the best American directors working today. Whenever he brings out a film, like, we all just flood to the cinema. At least all the film nerds do. Annoyingly, most of the public don't. But he still makes films, which is great. His last film, Phantom Thread, I put that down as one of my favourite films of all time. Phantom Thread is actually my favourite Paul Thomas Anderson film. So I guess that's another romantic one in a way. It shows off how relationships can be kind of weird, yet they work. And that's definitely how this film is as well. It stars Adam Sandler and Emily Watson. Adam Sandler as well, I think, as far as I'm aware, I think this was his first serious role in a film, because Paul Thomas Anderson was such a fan of Adam Sandler's comedies that he just wanted to do a film with him. But he makes this kind of... this is still a funny film, definitely still a funny film, but it's a serious film looking at love. And there's just so much in this. I won't give away any spoilers, but there's a really interesting theory about superheroes with this film. So yeah, Punchdrunk Love, definitely worth a watch, especially if you liked Adam Sandler in Uncut Gems, the latest film he's been in. So that about wraps this up. I just wanted to make this quick video just to talk about, some films about love that you might like. So yeah, let me know in the comments if there are any films that you love about love, because there are tons that I could have mentioned. Yeah, I mean, oh gosh, even just looking at my shelves, there's just so many that I could have mentioned. But yeah, I hate Valentine's Day. Do you hate Valentine's Day too? Like, I just hate it. But I love these films, so that's why I'm making this. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll be back with another one very soon.